If you followed tennis in the 1990s, there was one name that just dominated everything with this quiet, overwhelming force: Pete Sampras. We all know he's considered one of the greatest to ever pick up a racket, a true titan. So today, we're going to dig in and really break down what made him a legend.
So yeah, we all know the name, but what was his secret sauce? What were the actual components that made him so great? We're going to break down all the key ingredients that built the Sampras legacy, from the cold, hard data to those intangible qualities that make a true champion.
To really get a handle on the sheer scale of his career, we have to start with the numbers, because behind every legend there's undeniable data, and his tells a story of just incredible, sustained excellence.
Okay, let's start with this number right here. 14. Just let that sink in. That's how many Grand Slam singles titles he won. And get this, when he finally hung up his racket in 2002, that was the all-time men's record. 14 times he stood alone at the top of the mountain. And if you thought that was impressive, check this out. 286. That's the total number of weeks he was ranked world #1. That is nearly 5.5 years at the very top. This includes a mind-blowing 6 consecutive year-end #1 finishes. That's not just a high peak, that's insane consistency.
So, where did all that magic happen? This table tells the story. Just look at that. 7 Wimbledon titles and 5 US Opens. That means 12 of his 14 Grand Slams came on the super-fast grass of London and the hard courts of New York. I mean, those surfaces were practically made for his aggressive style. All right, so the numbers show us the what of his dominance. But now let's get into the how. How did he actually do it? Well, it all came down to his signature playing style, an art form he perfected, the serve-and-volley. Now, for anyone who isn't a huge tennis nerd, here's the deal. It's an all-out attack. You hit a massive serve, and instead of hanging back at the baseline, you just charge the net to cut the point short with a quick volley. It's totally high risk, high reward, and Sampras was its modern master. So what made his serve-and-volley so deadly? It was like a perfect storm. He had one of the most powerful and accurate serves in history, which on fast courts like grass, forget about it. Then you top that off with his legendary composure, and he could pull off this high-pressure game plan almost flawlessly.
But you know, a great champion is often defined by their greatest rival, and you absolutely cannot tell the story of Pete Sampras without talking about the guy on the other side of the net, the one who helped create a rivalry that defined an entire decade of tennis.
I'm talking, of course, about Sampras versus Agassi. Man, it was the ultimate clash. A clash of styles, a clash of personalities. You had the stoic, classic serve-and-volleyer against the flashy baseline returner. Their matches weren't just tennis, they were blockbuster events that had the entire sports world glued to their TVs.
But his game was really only part of the story. Beyond the stats and the rivalries, there was the man himself. So, who was Pete Sampras on the court? Well, for starters, he earned this nickname Pistol Pete, and it was for one simple reason: that lightning-fast, powerful, and incredibly precise serve. It was his weapon. It was the shot that set up everything else he did.
And this is the really fascinating thing about him, this kind of contradiction. His game was so explosive that he got a nickname like Pistol Pete, but the man himself, he was the absolute opposite. Famously calm, almost unnervingly composed on the court. He never seemed rattled, not even for a second.
And that quiet nature wasn't just for the court. Off the court, he was admired for his humility. He stayed away from the celebrity spotlight, preferring a private life. His focus was always on his craft and his family, and that earned him a ton of respect far beyond his forehand.
So you've got the numbers, the style, the character, but the final piece of the legend, it's how it all ended. It's a farewell so perfect it honestly feels like something straight out of a movie.
This timeline just says it all. After that whole decade of dominance, Sampras went into the 2002 US Open in a slump. A lot of people were saying his best days were behind him. And then he goes on this one last incredible run and wins the whole tournament. And after that victory, he just walked away, never played another professional match. He chose to retire on the highest possible note, a champion forever.
So when you put it all together, the record-breaking numbers, the mastery of a classic style, the stoic composure, and that storybook ending, you get a truly unique legacy. He wasn't the flashiest, but his greatness was absolute. Which leaves us with a final question to chew on. After a career of such quiet, powerful dominance, how should we remember a legend like Pete Sampras?